So my GitHub account got compromised and over 100 code bases I work on were affected. Now, whether you're technical or non-technical, as far as you work in tech, I would urge you to stay for at least the first few minutes of the video. Hi, my name is William Emmanuel, and I'm a software engineer with close to 10 years experience in web mobile development, as well as little parts of cybersecurity. A developer, the first thing you should do right now is to turn off your Wi-Fi and close any code bases you have until you are sure that this is not happening to you. I'm going to add timestamps to this video so we can jump to any part if you feel it's going to be more informative for you. Let's get started. The first question I'm going to be answering is, why did this happen? Now, through the injection of malicious code onto your laptop, the hackers are trying to get access to important keys that have access to important platforms that you could register with. So think payments platforms, crypto platforms, anything really, you never know. The point is to get access to these keys, which a lot of us developers use. How do you check if you are affected? If you are a non-technical person, but you also work in tech, this affecting your company or affecting your friend could actually directly affect you. If you have an app that's in production currently, it's probably registered with important platforms like Vessel or AWS that have email notification for when code changes are updated into the system, right? To try and update the live website. If you are getting a random spam of emails telling you that that's trying to happen, it's an indicator. If you are a developer, check every single code base, your personal code base, your organization's code base. You want to check to see that multiple changes are not happening. A lot of repositories at once. Now, for me, it was 100 code bases that were affected in a span of less than 10 minutes, really. How did I find out? Like I said, especially for non-technical people, if you see a bunch of emails on a platform that you use, that was the first indicator for me. The next thing that happened was that my CTO at the company in which I work in sent me a quick security audit. He noticed a few things wrong with the code base that we were working on together. And this, unfortunately for me, was the beginning of a 12-hour-long fixing session to the damage that was done. I want to be very clear, my GitHub account has two-factor authentication. Password is not something you can use guesswork to get, though I've still changed it now, but just in case you're thinking about that. Now, how does it happen? Let me start with the general way that it happens, because you could either be on your way to this problem or you're currently in the problem, but let's talk about how it happens. The standard way it happens, though this is not the way it happened to me, was that a recruiter reaches out on LinkedIn to tell you that they think you're a good fit for a crypto job or project. And they send you a repository, a code base for you to clone it to your system. Once you do, you will get affected. Now, the files that it typically tend to affect are font files. So it's not something that is very obvious. There's usually a bad font file with thousands of lines of JavaScript injected into it. Now, how exactly did it happen to me? What I noticed was somebody who was collaborating on a project with me got infected, and because all the code bases he worked on were injected with this malicious code, running a simple Git pull caused it to affect my system as well. Now, what exactly happens when the code goes into your system? You see, they inject a file also called task.json. Task.json tells VS Code or your code editor what to do once you boot it up. Command there is set to folder open. Once you open the folder on your VS Code, it starts to run. Now, it runs the lines of JavaScript that are receiving instructions from an Ethereum-based application somewhere. What this does is that it gets your SSH key as a developer. Now, this brings me to the first actionable step you should take as a developer. You want to go into your settings. If you notice this happening to you, if it's not happening to you yet, maybe you can wait, but I would urge you to go into the settings. Here's how you do it. You get your SSH key, you delete it, you delete your tokens, and go through every single OAuth app you're connected to. If you don't recognize some of them, I will urge you to delete it. What I did was that I revoked access to all of them at once, just because I was trying to try and limit the error. I have access to all of these apps, so I can always just connect them back. Now, so far so good. If you don't think that you're affected, here's what I'm going to tell you to do as precautionary steps. Don't install code bases from anywhere without properly assessing the code base first. The second thing is, for existing code bases to work on, always make sure you protect your main branch, because they will try to push changes into your main branch just so everything, goes at once. Now, the reason that they force push changes into main is that once the deployment runs on a server like AWS, for instance, it is able to pull all your environment variables. I'm going to go back to that in a second. But thirdly, you want to make sure you're always using SSH actually over HTTPS, as it's a more secure way to do things. Now, here's something you have to do if you're affected, apart from revoking your SSH keys and your authorized applications. You want to rotate your keys. Now, what rotating your keys mean is take a live key or a secret key that you're using with some platforms like maybe payments integrations like Stripe or Paystack or Coinbase or any platform you're using, and then change them. You want to delete the old one and we use the new one. Now, I have to say specifically that this attack is directed toward crypto wallets. Now, let's say you found out that you are affected. If you're non-technical, forward this to a developer. If you're technical, this is what you're going to do. Now, I've already talked about revoking your SSH keys, as this is what they typically use to push code, and revoke all auth applications, as well as rotating your keys. But there are a couple next steps. Now, if you want to quickly skip through this video, I'm going to leave a link to a quick playbook that you can use to figure out exactly what to do. It has a bunch of commands you can use with AI, but also things you need to learn to use, because you're going to be debugging most of this, if not all, from your terminal. You do not want to open your code base. Now, the next thing you want to do is pull down some of these repositories and actually edit these files out. After you edit these files out, you can push your changes so that the code base is now more secure. Now, I took an extra step in the sense that I used Git's filter repo to filter out these commits from the code base history completely. This is also going to be in the playbook, so make sure to try it out. I did this as an extra step, though it's not completely necessary, so that there is no history of this change happening in the code base. Then lastly, this is where the most tedious part of the work goes. Now, if unfortunately for you have much more code bases on your GitHub, me, I had 100. Any repository that you no longer use, or any organization that you are no longer, where the repositories are no longer being used, I will advise you to just delete them. As that's a much more safer way to deal with some of these issues. Now, I know that a lot of us as developers tend to have a lot of code bases on our profile, which, essentially is like our portfolio. You might have to fix some, you might actually have to delete some, because anybody can pull down this code at some point. Now, I've gone through GitHub and there are a lot of people this is happening to. So it's not really a thing where you never can tell, right? Now, as far as I know, this is still happening because we started at GitHub where the GitHub employee installed a malicious VS Code extension, and this is where all of this started. So I know it's still ongoing. You want to take precautionary steps. You want to make sure if you're affected, you have to fix this problem. If you also want to contact me to help you with this, there will also be a link in my bio alongside the playbook, where you can use this to book a session with me for an hour or two where I can help out with this. Anyway, if you have any opinions about what's happening, everything I've said in this video, please make sure to leave a comment. I would love to learn about this as much as I can. I'll see you in the next video.